Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Flag, good. Pledge allegiance. To the flag.
Speak to the communication issues?
Yeah, absolutely. We had, the only notice we even had of this meeting being moved up was an email, would be the latest thing. Yeah, yeah, no call, make sure everybody's available, which I always did. I've told you about the last situation with Horseneck, that we should have had a meeting with them, and it was brought up here that it was our representation at that meeting, we didn't even have any voice. So things like that, I have an issue with that.
I don't remember this meeting being didn't we do it at a meeting? We decided, oh, were you,
It got moved up to 5:30.
oh, moved up to 5:30?
Right.
Oh, okay, I understand.
So, the communication stuff is big with me. With the, even the snow stuff, we didn't know about it. Even Jack leaving, we had to find out, we had to track down what was going on, so.
Any other nominations?
No, my thing is, that's something we can work on, I agree. At some point, but I think in the overall, the time I've been on this board, I think the involvement, the way this board's moving forward, some of the issues that we're dealing with and all that, I think this whole board's taken a lot of, I say, being up in front, so I'm well satisfied the way it ran last year. So that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean,
Any other nominations? We can't, we need to, do we have another nomination?
So we'll accept, so we have two candidates on the motion now, is that what, that's what the?
No, do you want to nominate, Steve's saying he would consider it. Do you want to nominate Steve?
Well, I'd amend suggest a friendly amendment to the motion that we have the board polled on Steve or Tony as chair.
the what, Tom?
The poll the board.
Hold the board.
You get two people in it, one person's been nominated, one person's indicated interest.
Did I ask a question? No, it's at the board level right now. So, what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, my
What's,
motion,
I mean, we can poll this, we can,
Well, there's two ways of handling it, you either
Vote
take a
it.
vote or you take a poll.
before you take a vote.
The poll amounts to a vote.
Again, what's the pleasure of the board? I'd like to move it on if we could. We've got a
Well,
tight agenda here.
I'll be polled, how's that? I mean, I appreciate, I know the three of us have full-time jobs. I know Steve was able to pull off as a chair. I just appreciate the fact that these two retired guys put a lot of time in, and they haunt this place, and basically they're working pretty hard at it. So I would vote for continuation of the leadership that we've had.
I would vote for Steve.
I would vote for Tony.
All right, and obviously, I think I should have it, so, there you go.
Okay,
Call the question? Is that it?
where are we going here, folks? Want to take a formal vote now at this point after the poll, or?
Yeah.
Okay, motion on the floor, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay,
I'll nominate Dick. As I said, I think if you guys have worked pretty hard at it. I don't have the time, and I know Steve's got the experience factor. Maybe he's one of the guys that could do it, but I think Dick's done a good job trying to keep after things, being a force here, so I'll nominate Dick as the vice chair again.
I'd second that nomination, get it on the floor. Any other nominations?
Yeah, if I couldn't be the chair, I'd certainly go for vice chair, and that's one of the complaints, is that they spend too much time together. I've actually heard that we should go back to a three-man board, which I think would be ridiculous to go back and forth, but that is a problem with actually going around spending too much time together during the day. I've heard about that. So, whatever you guys want to do.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I made a motion.
Yep, there's a second, so.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
No, against.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, so stay in a second.
Okay, so we're staying the same in terms of reorganization. Next on the agenda, Brian Murphy. Brian?
I move we appoint Michael Sullivan as clerk of the Board of Selectmen.
Second. Might as well leave it the same.
Wait, Steve.
You want things the same, you got it, baby.
Got a motion and a second.
That one I don't want, he can have.
Anybody
Still the
want to
junior guy
nominate
on the board.
Steve?
No, thank you.
Anybody want to name Steve?
No, if you're gonna be,
Okay,
if you're gonna be
motion and
dumb, you
second.
gotta be tough, so
All
I'll
those in
do it.
favor of the motion?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, it's a little bit behind, but we gotta get to the schedule if we can tonight, folks, because we've got an executive for 6:30. Brian, please come forward if you would. Yeah, you come up here, Brian. Brian Murphy is from Hub International, New England, and he's gonna give us some update on police and fire. Brian, again, very limited, but they do have the handout from Hub explaining some of the communities that you folks are involved in, but if you could talk a little bit about how cities and towns handle the accidental for public safety.
Hi, my name is Brian Murphy, as the chair said, from Hub International. You might have known us better in our earlier life as Heidelberg Insurance. We were acquired back in 2002. We actually provided insurance for the town of Westport from 1991 to 2003. We still continue to write some public official bonds. We still continue to write some public official bonds for the school department. Our office does handle some 25 cities and towns for all lines of municipal insurance, including police, fire, accident. I was called by the chair last week and had a nice meeting with him and Mr. Healy, who I knew in Middleborough. They asked me to come tonight to discuss police, fire, accident in light of the recent catastrophic accident to a town fire officer. If you start, first of all,
Al, we can't hear.
was I not too close?
No?
Stereo.
Yep, stereo.
Is that better? Is that better?
We have to try to speak up to people.
Okay.
Try this one.
Test, test.
Yes.
Okay. In reference to police fire accident, first of all, you probably start with workers' compensation. It usually applies to all job-related duties. In Massachusetts, it's a little bit different. Workers' comp applies to everybody but police and firemen. A number of Massachusetts general law statutes applies to police fire accidents for injured on duty. The first one is Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 100, which basically, if you're injured on duty, the police or fireman is reimbursed 100% of his medical expenses. If you lose time from work, you're reimbursed 100%. You suffer no loss in pay. As far as the marketplace out there, since it's really only a cottage industry here in Massachusetts, the state of New Hampshire, for example, police and fire are under workers' compensation, but here and in Rhode Island and a number of other, of other states, that is not the case. So police fire accident coverage was born to kind of help municipalities address that particular exposure. Unlike workers' compensation, when you buy a workers' compensation policy, it is tied directly to the workers' compensation statute, Mass General Law, Chapter 152. So medical bills is paid at 100%, but they don't put a limit in there. It's statutory. The worst workers' compensation claim I ever had was $17 million. They paid the $17 million. Loss of time, 60% of your average weekly wage. when you craft a police fire accident policy, it's not tied to the statute. You have to buy limits, and hence there can be a gap that does occur. As far as the marketplace out there, there were 3 players, Provident Insurance Company, Nationwide Insurance Company, and Argonaut Insurance Company, that offered police fire accident to various municipalities over the last, 5 to 10 years. They all suffered bad experience, and they withdrew from the marketplace. To the best of my knowledge, the state of the marketplace today is as follows. I think you are currently with Hartford Insurance Company. They offer a police fire accident policy. Generally, they will not go above maybe $300,000 of medical expense limit. There are some other issues when you get into the nuances of the coverage, but it does do a core program. You've got Chubb Insurance Company that offers first dollar police fire accident coverage. They generally won't go above $300,000, $350,000 of medical expense coverage. You've got VFIS, Volunteer Firemen's Insurance Company. I've been doing this 35 years. They have historically been one of the broader ones in terms of the coverage offerings. They do 125 police and fire entities in Massachusetts, 500 in New England, and 15,000 nationally in terms of police, fire, volunteer firemen's organizations, and things of that nature. That's why I've historically used. Our office writes about 15 of them in that particular area. So they do have the capability to go up to $1 million of medical expense coverage. They will not go any higher than that. There are 2 other programs. A lot of cities and towns actually totally self-insure this exposure. They, with large cities with big numbers of police and firemen, to buy on a first dollar basis, that would be very expensive. So there are catastrophic plans in place. VFIS has a program for that. There's another vendor, Cook & Company, which I think uses Pan Am Insurance Company, that also addresses that in that particular area. So those are the major players in the state of Massachusetts that address police fire accident coverage. So, and I believe the Pan Am recently did have the ability to go up to $1 million. From the perspective of the coverage, because of the uniqueness of it, with all the various Massachusetts statutes, you really need a broker that's had some experience in that particular area, because depending upon how a town is organized. Some towns, you have EMS, paramedics, as they're separate. If they're separate, that's really workers' compensation, and it comes under the workers' comp policy, and that's $4.70 after April 1st per $100 of payroll. That's the base rate for that. If, however, they're underneath the fire department, which is in most cases, then they're subject to the police fire accident thing, and they should be on the police fire accident policy. We have had some scenarios where we've had to tweak it, where you've got call and volunteer firefighters that also double as paramedics. So God forbid you're toned out at 2 o'clock in the morning and responding to something. Are you responding as a full-time paramedic? Are you responding as a call firefighter? And God forbid a tragedy occurs. You don't want them, pointing fingers at one another. So with VFIS, we've had the ability to structure coverage to address those things on an excess basis. So when I spoke to Mr. Vieira and I took down the information to send it into VFIS, somebody else had already been into VFIS. And I believe it's a local agent who may have 1 or 2 municipalities, whereas we have a number more. And in order to address that particular scenario, you have to do what's called a broker record letter, where you appoint a particular broker to be the representative to approach that particular company to get quotations or to write the coverage with them. So that's what I left with Mr. Vieira, and he asked me to come in to explain the state of the marketplace and how that goes along. And I promised I'd be brief, so I'll go from there. We also, if you do want to, if you haven't looked at your insurance in a number of years, we also have the facility. We write property and liability insurance for all lines as well.
Brian, I wanted to give the board members an opportunity to talk to you and ask any questions they may have in terms of where we're at. And we have other companies we're looking at. Jack is just passing around Cooking Company. for example.
They're one of the players.
To you that we talked to the agents of Cooking Company as well. But tell us a little bit more, if you could. Well, actually, if we got some time, maybe I could open up to board members and give them an opportunity to talk to you directly, the questions they may have. Anybody?
Somebody else start. Just to back up a quick. Was there one or two companies?
No, what he just gave me, I think it's copies for everybody. You didn't give
I
us
believe Pan Am through Cooking Company, I think recently has got the ability to do that, and VFIS has the ability to do that. The other two, to the best of my knowledge, and I've competed against them, they generally won't do above 300 or 350,000.
Okay. Now, does this policy have a deductible? In other words, what I was interested in is just doing a reverse of what we have now. Incur the relatively small expenses, but have a catastrophic policy. Is there a deductible, different levels of deductible for the $1 million
yeah.
policies?
And again, that's really when the broker gets involved and tries to look at the, risk management of, for your police department. So generally, I've always believed you save money from the bottom up, not the top down. Okay, so you buy the highest limit that you can get, and then save money from the bottom up by buying a deductible. I was in here, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, when the board, when they wanted to save money on insurance, and they wanted to drop the umbrella policy to $17,000. And I recommended not to do that because employment-related practices coverage was in the umbrella, and given the track record of litigation here, an unsatisfied legal judgment is tacked on beyond to the tax recap sheet above Prop 2.5 without any say in that. So we raised deductibles from like $1,000 to $25,000 to save money, because what's going to ultimately hurt the town more, a $25,000 hit out of pocket or a $1 million uncovered thing. So you can structure that. So yes, the core thing that you look at is the medical expense. A lot of towns really don't want to pay the premium to buy the $1 million limit, but they also have disability on their full-time police and fire. I usually recommend, if you're a full-time police and fire and you did have a tragedy, if you did have a full-time fire or police injured on duty, and disability, generally within 2 years they qualify for accidental disability retirement. So let's recraft the policy to take away the disability and then reinvest those saved premium dollars to increase the medical expense limit that you buy. So you can increase the deductible, you can redirect it. That's really where the broker gets involved with the experience that he's had and looking at what your, between career, call, volunteer, how is EMS structured. You take the chassis and then you craft it around that. So that's what we've had, experience doing over the years.
You mentioned one number. You said $4.70 per $100. $4.70 per $100 of payroll. Was that for disability, or is that?
No. That was in reference to if a town is structured where EMS, paramedics, are not part of the fire department. They're
Right.
not under the fire chief. They are by themselves.
Okay, that's not us then.
That is a workers' compensation exposure, and the rate was $4.60. It's going up to $4.70 for policies that renew on or after April 1.
Bless you.
So that's got nothing to do. If
Understood.
A paramedic is a paramedic, a firefighter, EMT, paramedic under the fire department. That's a police fire accident, injured on duty thing, so that's the police fire accident coverage.
I would guess, given our structure, that we would be under that. We don't have different state functions.
We didn't know about the meeting you guys had, but do you have a price breakdown for us? Because all we have is a sheet of saying who you cover. We don't.
No, we haven't got to that point yet. We have to provide, first of all, insurance is a little bit different. Insurance and attorneys, you don't have to go out to bid. Just so happens that the procurement law doesn't cover either one of those two. Might be some correlation because of the number of legislators that are insurance or legal folks, but that might be another day. But Having said that, what we did is I asked Brian to come in and kind of talk about what his particular company could do and give us a little bit of background as a board. I think what we need to do is then charge Jack to get some quotes from the various options that we have, and then go from there.
I'd rather have the numbers so we could talk to him, but, okay.
Well, I mean, we can all research the numbers. You were chair for many years.
Right, and when he came in, they came in with a breakdown. That's why they would be coming here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
If I could.
That's fine.
Basically, in talking to folks, getting an umbrella policy, if that's what we're looking at, we're probably looking at $50,000 to $60,000 range, depending on our experiences, and
That's what I'd be
depending on the competition that's out there. Is that fair to?
Well, I think underwriting police fire accident coverage, the first thing you gotta do is get the employee counts in the various, how many full-time, part-time, reserve police officers, how many, what's the employee complement in the fire department. You then have to take a look at your loss runs. You then, fill out that application, send it into the carrier, and they will quote it for you. When I got the baseline information. When I sent that in, I was blocked. So you can't, insurance companies only respond to the first company in, or unless you appoint a different broker to go represent them, type of thing.
So more than one person can't get a quote?
From that a particular.
From that particular, yeah, they're at like.
There's
More than one
major
broker,
ones
right?
that go from
That's right.
statewide.
Yeah.
So it's probably an antitrust type of situation, but basically, that's the rules that the insurance industry uses. So given the fact that there's really only 4 or 5 players in this small marketplace, all the agents know where where those specialty companies are, and then what most insureds do is, rather than evaluate the company, they do a broker selection process rather than an insurance company selection process. They look at the attributes that a particular broker brings to the table in terms of knowledge, expertise, access to the market, et cetera, and then you appoint them to go to those companies, and then if there's a direct writer, I believe you're currently with Maya. Maya, I think, has an exclusive with Chubb, so you'd be going to Chubb to get a proposal for them. So I couldn't come back with any numbers because I was blocked.
Right. We did, Steve, we did inquire in Meyer, and I don't know if we've got anything
Yeah.
back from them yet.
No,
And we
we
also
said,
inquired for cooking company.
right.
So-
But we have all the brokers that would serve those companies that are working. They've all got the loss runs, they've all got all the information, the number of people in each department and so forth. So they're all working to get us some quotes.
What we were trying to do tonight was at least get people up to speed in terms of what some of the options would be for the town moving forward, and how other towns have handled this kind of situation, because I think there was some concern that we had a policy about 250, 300,000. Over the years, we reduced that down for coverage to 100,000. But regardless, either one, I mean, our liability is much greater than that. And in self-insuring, we never really, over the years, we put some money in stabilization, saying we're going to kind of self-insure that way. We do have 800,000 in stabilization right now, but we have to, do something in terms of how we're going to move forward on the short term as it relates to all our public safety folks, and also in the short term as it relates to our costs and how we arrive at paying the bills that our aging firefighters are faced with right now. So there are 2 fronts that we have to deal with, and this is a first step. I think over the next couple of meetings, we'll have an opportunity to hear from Jack and Steve about the alternatives from the 4 major vendors, and then we can decide the brokers at the same level. Certainly, Brian is interested and would love to have the town look at him as a broker. There's another broker from the town of Westport that handles this coverage as well for that particular company. We've contacted other agents in the area. We've contacted other cities and towns that are dealing with this to see who they're using, to try to get some recommendations on, not only from the broker perspective, but the actual insurance services that we'd be purchasing. So, any other questions on this?
Oh, just, can't the public look at the quotes from these other towns? That's public knowledge, correct? So we can get a
That's a
copy of
list
those.
that's a list of all the people that we do. Not all of them buy police fire accident. A lot of them buy, self-insure that exposure, but that's municipal property liability, workers' comp, police fire accident, automobile insurance, so
Gotcha,
that's a
but
list of everything.
But it can be public knowledge, correct?
Oh, yeah,
We
no,
can call and ask for a copy.
that's all public stuff, yeah.
Okay, great.
And that's the process that Steve and Jack are going through now. So we will have it. But, in a short period of time, we were trying to come up with something that
Yeah.
at least get a better understanding on the table.
Again, you know, insuring municipalities is not like insuring retail stores, with all due respect, and there are some unique coverages, there are some unique things that go into that, and, you know, our office has been doing it since 1991, so we do have a fair amount of experience in it, and, you know, we'd invite you to consider us or check our references or what have you.
When Brian was speaking, Jack passed around some information from Cooking Company that he'd received.
Just
So-
came in,
Right,
that's why.
just came in today, so, and again, we're still looking for Maya to submit some information, so we'll be able to, at the next meeting or two, be able to finalize that direction, but we have to consider this as we go into town meeting in terms of how we're gonna handle the situation as it relates to the immediate issue and also as it relates to how we're gonna start July 1st with our coverage, because our coverage does come up for renewal.
It's July 1.
July 1, so the timing is pretty critical. I want to thank you, Brian.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
you
you.
coming in, and
Appreciate it.
we'll be in touch.
Thanks a bunch.
I'd like to go to the ratification of the minutes. It was scheduled for 6 o'clock. We had voted on this at the last meeting. We didn't have it on the agenda, but we did that out of respect for the superintendent and the school committee who were under a deadline to try to move it forward, so I guess I could entertain a motion again for,
So moved.
Well, I had just two things that unrelated to
yeah.
the
okay.
school.
We did mention that last time, Michael, that you did have some questions on other parts not related to the school
Yeah.
piece, so why don't you mention it?
So you want to, we have a chance to correct those
Yeah,
two
now.
before,
This is
okay.
the time, yeah.
All right, so, just wording, page 5, Larry Parr regarding update on South Coast Rail Project. Halfway down, Mr. Sullivan, halfway into that paragraph, Mr. Sullivan stated that a letter of support, and I would like to, I believe I said, should be based on economic benefits, and then insert financial rewards, not toward. And I'll hand this, I got a couple copies here, I'll hand it out, so you can just take a look at it. And then the only other correction is on page 6. I'll let you pass. There's the correction for page 6, which is a first subject, Attorney Richard Holland, KP Energy Committee, Tony Connors, halfway down, discussion continued, and insert there, Mr. Sullivan asked why the amount of power to be purchased exceeded our current usage. Mr. Connors explained the math behind the calculations.
Okay, anybody have a problem with those two corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor with the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, it's unanimous. So, Diane, you want to have those corrections?
Thank you, Diane.
All right, next, Jack, do you want to start on the awarding of the bid process?
I'm sorry, did you take a vote on the main motion?
We did.
No.
But
Greg's-
the
Greg-
motion was amended?
Greg's motion, my second with an amendment.
Yeah.
It's amended. I want to remind the board, we've got a public hearing scheduled for 6:15, so I seem like I'm moving people along and trying to provide some time to discuss the items.
Board, Mr. Chairman, the board has a recommendation for a bid award on the Beach Avenue paving and the East Beach paving alternate. The recommendation is to award to J.H. Linson Sons Incorporated for the amount of $177,064.95. Also included in the recommendation for the award from Tech is a notice of intention to award, which should be filled out and authorized to be signed by the chairman following the vote to award. Any questions?
Well, I just want to bring this to the attention of the members of the board here. This is for the, both East Beach and Beach Avenue. And we have received correspondence on the Beach Avenue piece from the Buzzards Bay folks in terms of additional plans that we have. So just a reminder, we're talking about paving award contract for both the part of Beach Ave that we had voted on last year and the correction of East Beach, which East Beach has to be done fairly quickly, or
Yes.
folks won't be able to get on there May 1st for use of the.
I want to simplify it. I'll move that we approve the East Beach Road bid award in the amount of $59,516.
It has to be done as a single action, base bid plus alternate one.
That's what I was thinking, we could award the other one by itself, but not necessarily the East Beach one by itself, because it was an
That's
option.
My understanding is we had three bids, right? Narragansett Improvement, J.H. Lynch and Sons, and P.J. Keating.
Yeah.
And it went out as, that's why we got the price down cheaper, because they did 2 units. So for the total bid from, what was the total figure?
177,064.
177,064.95.
The base bid, which is the Beach Ave,
Right.
is $117,548.50.
And part of this is when they have the equipment, they're doing both at once, so taking advantage of people not just coming in and setting up for one job at a time.
I'll make a motion to move to accept the low bid. It's already been reviewed by you and Steve.
Yep.
Okay, and also Tibbetts. So I'll make a motion that we accept the bid.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman, but I'm with the understanding that we'll give the folks that put some time into a proposal for an alternative proposal down there. We hear them out and determine how to proceed from there.
Maybe one of the things, I think we've all been contacted from these folks over the weekend. Maybe one of the things we could do, I was told that the Disabilities Commission is meeting on the 16th. That's correct, okay. And then maybe we could get the beach committee to meet. Both could meet prior to our next meeting with a recommendation based on what they've seen for the proposal.
I think conservation meets next week, Tuesday, so
Yeah.
Have they sent it to conservation as well?
I don't
So
know.
maybe we could do that, we could send it to conservation so we can see, and just see if there's further input. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to that are gonna require other agencies that dig in. I think at the beginning, there probably some of that parking area that they were suggesting would get into the sand dunes piece, but there's also requirements in terms of point of access for disabilities, whether it's 200, 250 feet, so I would rather let those committees review all that and then come back to us with some kind of recommendation on where they see that going as well. So that would give us, I mean, we'd have to turn it around, so we'd hope that over the next week or two that they could do that and then get back to us at their earliest convenience, but it wouldn't delay stuff on our end, you know, to.
We got a logistical thing, both Craig and I are gonna miss the 22nd, so either you guys we'd have to take care of it, or we'd have to have another meeting.
I was gonna suggest that we might wanna consider the 14th, I can give you about 5 reasons, Jack and I went through
Right,
it.
yeah, at
That
least.
are time sensitive for the town meeting based on the decisions of our election on the overrides not passing, balancing budgets. We have an executive session that we need to react to after the fact finding is developed. We need to finalize a special town meeting warrant, so maybe if you folks are gonna be out of town, maybe you might wanna consider next Monday, is that possible?
Switch our 22nd meeting to the 14th.
Would that work for you?
I could only do it at 6:30.
Well,
4:30 meeting that day.
Let's do it, let's start at 6, if that works for everybody, huh? Does that work?
Yeah.
Want to do that, and that would give them,
Does that give time to
it's
go to
not
committees?
gonna give the committees enough time probably for their end, so we can at least do what we have at that point. Now, we could still listen to the committees on the 22nd if you want, so we don't have to cancel that meeting, but we'd at least have, try to keep everything going, because we've got these other issues we have to deal with on the 14th with. And if we have more information coming back from any other agencies that they've looked at, we could do that as well. But, I mean, maybe we could ask the committees to maybe consider I don't know if they could do it physically anyways. They could meet ahead of time before they're, 48 hours, you can schedule a meeting. So that'd be up to the committees, I don't wanna push them along, but, at some point, we've gotta get some decision made.
The beach committee has their regular meeting on the 17th.
Okay.
And they're on the
Did you folks want me to, let's see, if we look at the calendar, the 17th is,
Thursday?
um,
Thursday.
We're
You
gonna
wanna
be
meet-
economic development anyway.
you know, do you want to meet on another day that week, would that be easier for you,
I'm not available after the 16th.
after the 16th? Well, I guess for us, that's gonna have to work, then, we'll do what we can on the 14th, and we're not canceling the 22nd at this point, we at least have 3 members at that meeting if we need to, but ideally, we'd like to do it with a full board if there's something that they're recommending, but it is a little bit time sensitive with some of this stuff, because you've got, you've got a bid contract that you've got to deal with at the same time.
We have no standalone bid on East Beach Road. It was just a combination and that's it.
Well, I think, looking back, what happened is we went out for bid on the Beach Avenue, and then we tacked on East Beach
No, it's gonna
because,
be the opposite. We were gonna finish East Beach Road and then East Beach Road and then see the price on Beach Ave.
I think it wasn't until after the debacle on East Beach Road that we decided to put that back into the mix.
We're actually doing Beach Avenue first, we did Beach Avenue last fall, because of the problems with East Beach, as you're saying, then we tacked that on to the bid, to try to get both done and get a lower price, because we, obviously, at that point, we realized we had to do something at East Beach, because we didn't think we had to do asphalt.
And the problem, if I could, Mr. Chairman, we have to take care of the East Beach thing. That's gone way too long, and we messed up on that already. And unfortunately, these two things are tied together, so
Well,
that's
I
our...
would hope that we would move along on Beach Avenue at some point to come up with some kind of plan. We're in our second year of talking about that, after having about 4 or 5 years of other strategies, and when we were planning it, and putting up stone and blocking it, and then putting up a gate, and, we gotta move that along at some point. Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor.
This is
Well,
to go
well,
forward with
Mr.
these
Chair-
projects?
I did speak to Tim briefly, Mr. Chair, and he assured me that he had an elevator speech ready.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim,
And-
yeah. You wanna-
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, let's
just
recognize Tim, sure.
briefly, we're really sort of building a coalition here around this project, and we think we're setting the table for something that could be a really wonderful collaborative effort in town, and something the town could be proud of if we give ourselves an opportunity to look at an alternate solution to than just doing the paving on Beach Avenue. There's been a lot of work that's happened so far. We've got signed-on support from the DEP, from other agencies in town, the Watershed Alliance, the Land Trust. I believe you've got the letter from the Land Trust. We have over 186 signatures from people over at the harbor, 86 households that have signed on, pretty much the entire neighborhood. And we're building something here that I think is really valuable. And at the head of this parade, we would like to see the coalition of the disabilities group and the beach committee sort of leading the charge with us, and we would like to give them an opportunity to really sign on to this and let it be formed into something that will really work for us. And we're just hoping we'll have that opportunity, if it's at all possible.
I think we're trying to allow for that and ask both committees to weigh in on it, but on the other hand,
We
it has been
understand
a
the
number of months
urgency.
here, and,
Just, if there's any way you can separate those two activities, I know rebidding is a possibility, although it'll delay things, if you could get East Beach done and then Beach Avenue after. But that's the kind of stuff we're asking for, an opportunity.
Sure. Jack, do you want to weigh in on this at all?
Yeah, and we have, not only do we have a valid bid that we need to consider, but we have time constraints in terms of both projects, and we need to get this thing done. So a decision has to be made one way or another. Either we're gonna throw these bids out, and we're not gonna pave those roads, or we're going to go forward and pave those roads. I mean,
Let me ask the two committees, is there some reason you can't move up your meetings?
We might be able, the Disabilities Commission might be able to meet on Monday if one of our members is out of the hospital.
Have you folks met with the Buzzards Bay group and Tim already?
Informally, as an individual,
Okay.
I have information
Yep.
back and forth to share with the committee. That we
You haven't shared it with the committee at this point?
We haven't
Okay.
scheduled meetings.
Yeah, how about the beach committee? Could you folks move up your date of your meeting?
Well, all they've got to do is check with the other members, see if they're available.
Right.
And if I can get a quorum,
So in respect to what Tim is saying, we'll do everything we can, and 48 hours is really what you need if it works for folks. Yeah. I think it's important that you folks have opportunity to have that discussion. I know Tim and Mark has talked to a number of the people down in the harbor area and asked for their review of the process, so, I think the board will see what the beach committee and the disabilities committee feel about the proposal.
Yeah, I would want to weigh in, await the recommendations of those two committees.
I mean, there are other considerations here in terms of how much we do pave, and that's one of the things that we talked about in the past. We, as a board, made a decision last fall in terms of what we were paving and how we were moving forward. So my hope is that, in what we've seen and what we've heard from the Disabilities Committee, is they talked about various points of access, and those points of access are gonna require something different than having a walkway from the Coates all the way down to the Nubble. That's not gonna meet any kind of standard in terms of in terms of the feet that are, you need 200, 250 feet for a point of access, so that's something that with disabilities. Yeah, well, that's why I think, you talked to me last Thursday, and I suggested that, from that point, you sit down with the Disabilities Commission and the Beach Committee and work through some of those issues. We also have the responsibility in terms of access to private property that's down there.
Yeah.
In terms of if we started to coax it, how does that tie in? The plan that we had seen last week that was sent to us over the weekend kind of talks about parking just off of the Coates. That talks about maybe doing something in the dunes to allow that parking. I think that environmentally that might be at least something that we might want to discuss. So there are a lot of issues there.
Sense that was part of that package.
Well,
But it certainly looks like it.
I mean, that's what I saw. Did the other people see that? Or?
Yes, I did. And I can't see CZM agreeing to destroying that hunk of that dune in favor of the rest of the restoration project. It doesn't make any sense.
Or the neighbors that abut that.
It's not a definitive plan.
Yeah, and that's why I think talking it through with the groups might be very helpful, But in terms of, we need to have some kind of access, and I think it's probably going to be weighed on, speaking as one member of this board, weighed on in terms of how the Disabilities Commission see this. I think that's a big piece in terms of what is acceptable and what's fair in this process for access. I don't know, other people want to weigh in on that? I mean, that's.
No, I want their input, so. I didn't realize we weren't gonna have a standalone bid for East Beach. Obviously, that's critical. Beach Ave isn't, so.
Well, hang on a second. If you didn't realize it, when we went out the bid, when we talked about going out the bid,
Yeah.
we made a commitment to go out the bid for Beach Avenue. That's what the bid was, okay? At the 11th hour, because we had the gentleman coming forward with East Beach, we had a problem. Jack suggested, why don't we put the two together in one bid to take advantage of East Beach? Because at that point, we weren't even figuring to do anything with East Beach. That was a state bid.
No, we had more follow-up work to do at East Beach. There was still another.
They were under contract, and they
Right.
still are under contract. We were told by the state at one point that we couldn't blacktop it. And then when they came in here, we were told by our engineer we could. And then at that point, we said, well, why don't we tack it on to the other bid?
Right.
So we can try to get that done at the same time.
Right, but there's still work to do at East Beach.
And considering that work, just let me comment a little further. I've asked Tech to immediately begin to work with I.W. Harding, who's a contractor on East Beach, to get in there to do the repair work to the work that he did, to bring that up to snuff. That has to be done before it's paved. And so we're going to run into some critical timing issues here on both of these projects. We just need to make a decision as soon as possible. If we're not going to pave, if we're not going to accept this bid, then we're not going to be paving East Beach either. And so we have to decide what we are going to be doing over there. We're just going to give it a shot for the summer with the material that's there, put back where it should be, in the condition that it should be.
I mean.
No, we gotta pave that road, we gotta pave
No,
that.
I just don't know why we didn't do the two options.
Point of clarification, so notwithstanding the motion that is on the floor, which is to award the bid, this group has also discussed meeting next Monday, presumably for a number of reasons, including having a broader discussion of this issue and allowing time for input from both the Beach Committee and from the Disabilities Committee. And I, for
Yeah,
one...
the Conservation Commission.
And the Conservation, I, for one, would support that, but we don't have a motion to that effect because we have another motion on the floor.
Can I speak to a motion, Tony?
Sure.
I don't know what meeting, we voted to, my motion, I'm the one that made the motion to tar, Beach Ave, and I said all the way down to the Nubble. We had other than conservation, but and also the Disability Commission was getting involved. And when I put my motion, I said, I understand there's a lot of other issues. Right now, I'm just looking, that's a Chapter 90 road, that's a road that should be opened by the town. Why it was left to go falter over the years, I'm not debating that, but right now, my motion was, let's put the road up to that at least, I conceded, at least up to, for lack of a better point, to a town road. And then whatever the beach committee wants to do, whatever the disabilities wants to do, that's all in addition to. And we found that this, when we did this, we got this, we would have probably been done earlier, but the reason why the asphalt plants were basically closing down. Then, as you can see, the catastrophe that took place on East Beach Road, which I wish Buster's Bay would do a study for each beach road and prevent that from washing out every year or thereabouts. So that's where our motion was. The board voted, I'm pretty sure that it was unanimous at the time, this board voted, let's put back our road that belongs there, a Chapter 90 road, and let, however the other stuff flows out, whether they go boardwalk this way, and we have parking there, we're not destroying, we're staying behind the dunes. And that's why it went out this way. And that's why I just made the motion now to accept both these things. We got it at a reduced price. It became cheaper by doing both together if they're going to be down here with their equipment. Especially, it's not like we're not on the beaten path. We're way out between, I can't get any further south on East Beach and probably any further further west on Beach Ave, that it was more cost-effective for the town to put this out for bid. So we have all the engineering done on everything, so we spent a lot of money to get this done and bring it up. So I still stand that we move forward on this.
Okay, we're already past the time we're supposed to have a public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Can we look into, Tony, I mean, can we order this thing? Jack, can we pay, we gotta pay East Beach, we gotta move ahead on that part of the contract. Is it possible that J&H Lynch will do that piece first, give us some time? I mean, I don't see us making a huge change here, but I think it's probably wise to give this last minute, albeit last minute proposal, a fair shake. But I'm inclined to move ahead on the whole paving project, but I would like to at least get our committees to take a look, the three critical committees, to take a look at this. And
East Beach work isn't done yet from the previous contract.
But first of all, this project needs to be awarded as one. With, the base bid with the alternate. And as Steve just said, we've got work to do, and that should be getting done immediately out at East Beach.
Okay, we're going over the same material.
I know, and we're also over the
I would
5 minutes
suggest,
over.
if we can, Jack, can we wait till Monday to take this vote? We're going to have 5 people here Monday. We're going to give the committees additional time this week. We're going to give anybody who wants to weigh in to talk to the committees, they'll have opportunities to do that. And then we vote on the award Monday night. In the meantime, Jack, you talk to Harding, talk to Tibbetts, make sure East Beach is ready to go. So we vote on Monday. Tuesday, we want to see people following through on the award if we can. for the East Beach portion.
Okay with that?
But you have to vote to award the two of them.
I'm saying
Right.
that Monday night, that at least,
Right.
I mean, that's what Craig was asking for, a few more days on, I mean, you know, granted, I mean, we've been doing months, not days, but giving time, but once again, extend this courtesy to try to reach out to people, see if we can come to a resolution. You know, this is Wednesday night. Realistically, if we notify them Thursday or Friday, a whole lot's gonna be done. If we meet Monday, it'll give the boards an opportunity to meet in the meantime, let's see what we can do.
We just got the prices tonight. It's not like we've had this price a year ago when people have the opportunity. We've got the price tonight of $177,000. That's when you would welcome public input. So
What
I don't know
was
why
it? What was it?
everybody's making it sound like it was last year. We knew the price.
Tony,
We
you-
made
well,
a commitment last
bid.
year.
East
Okay,
Beach-
Okay, folks, I wanna,
Well-
what's your pleasure? You
But
wanna
just-
vote on it now, you wanna wait till
Well, I
Monday?
just want to be clear, you're talking about meeting on the
The
14th.
14th.
But, and we're going to have, our committees will have a chance to meet before
They're
that?
gonna have to. They're gonna have to, you know, got some urgency here, folks.
Consensus.
Got some urgency here. They
Okay.
said they would try their best to do that. And hopefully the folks that are interested in working with them, I see Buzz is paying back there, Mark, he's gonna try to see if we can do that. We'll buy a little bit more time if we can, but I mean, it's,
I'm okay with that.
Jack, are you comfortable with that? Let's still
Yeah,
give us,
sure.
we in that 30-day period? That's the other issue in terms of awarding the bids.
Right.
Right, and
Okay, are you willing to withdraw your motion until Monday?
Monday, okay.
Withdraw my second.
Okay, let's move on then. We're gonna, let's be very clear, okay? We can't tell the committees when to meet, but we're asking if you possibly can, get together, iron it out, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday till Monday night. Monday night, we're gonna vote. I mean, you can post the meet on a Saturday. You can post the meet on a Saturday, might be convenient for everybody.
All Monday
You know?
before us.
Or you
I
could
mean, we meet
post,
for other reasons on a Saturday, you can post a meet on a Sunday if you want. I mean, I'm just saying, it's try to meet prior to the next meeting if you
Time
can.
Monday. We said 6.
Can you push that?
6:30.
Or 6:30?
Like at 5 on
we said 6:30.
Oh, correct.
No,
For the
our
Monday.
Craig,
meeting
right?
is 6 o'clock. We'll put you on the agenda sometime. We won't, doesn't have to be at 6.
6:30,
Yeah,
right, Craig?
we've got some other priorities that we're gonna have to deal with Monday as well. So we don't know at this point what it's gonna be on Monday night, but it'll be after 6 o'clock. And if it's easier for you, Diane, make a
Schedule
note,
later.
we'll make sure it's after 6:30, okay? That's, and please, get together, talk it through, come back with a plan. Let's see if we can build some consensus, okay? Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, next, we have a public hearing. The applicant is Judith D'Souza Bolton and Jeffrey Bolton for a 6-month seasonal trailer permit for recreation purposes located in trailer at 186 East Beach Road. Please, folks, we're having a public hearing. Can you take it outside if you would? Property is known on the assessors map 76A, lot 115. Anybody present on the hearing? Please come on up, folks. I'm sorry. Got lost in the group there. Please have some seats. Sorry about that. We're a little bit late.
I understand, all good.
We were trying.
You did a great job.
2 to 1 against.
We have in our packets the
2 to 1 against.
material on the request for the application, and it's fairly straightforward. We have questions from board members on this at all?
Was it signed up by the Board of Health? I just couldn't understand the way it was put together.
Jack just left the
No, Diane usually knows that.
Diane Board of Health.
Board of Health sign off?
Everything was all set.
And this is the first season that you, welcome,
Where's your trailer?
welcome.
Okay, so I would advise, don't come down East Beach Road. As you can see, we don't have it paved yet. Okay.
But we will.
Actually, we're in a good
Well,
spot.
we're gonna do
We
it.
can bypass that.
Yeah, they can come right up. They're right at the end of John Reed Road.
Yeah.
I make a motion to move it.
Second. You realize it's an environmentally sensitive area, correct?
Yes.
A motion and a second on the floor. Okay. What we have here is the approvals, the sign-offs, and we've been told that all of them have been done at this point. So it looks routine from our end. But do you folks have questions about it?
We've been briefed on the rules by our neighbors.
Now, you understand you can't go in there until May 1st.
May 1st, 9 o'clock.
What day of the week is May 1st, by the way?
No, I'm not sure.
Thursday. Thursday.
off work.
I think they'll be there May 1st.
Yep, yep, okay. Any questions, board members? All right, hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous, you're all set. Good luck. Thank you very much. Again, I apologize for the delay here. Thank you. Take care, yep, good luck.
Welcome.
I think our attorney's here, so,
Want to move to go into
I'll stick around the
executive?
table if anybody has any, let me talk about the 14th. The Finance Committee was working with the town administrator today. I wasn't involved in the discussions, but obviously the Finance Committee is trying to work on balancing a budget. We need to do the same. There are other expenditures that we need to address. I've asked Jack and Steve to work on those expenditures, to get it out to the board, if we can, by Friday. So we'll have a chance to look at those. So Monday night, we come in and really kind of address how we balance it from our side, because it's out of balance based on some of the decisions that have been made between December and now. And the Finance Committee may come up with a whole different, way of balancing it. We could wait and just let them do that if we wanted to too, but I think we have some responsibility, leadership-wise, to try to submit a balanced budget based on the new data that we have available to us. So that was one area. We're going to go into fact-finding in a few minutes, and we need to have a decision after the fact-finding. We don't do it the same night, so it would be ideal to do that at Monday when it's still fresh in everybody's mind. So that would be another issue for Monday night. Another one now would be the meeting that we just had with this group to try to address the award of the bid for the 2 roads. We have to finalize the special town meeting warrant. The deadline for that, I think it's like the 17th. So, the 14th is really the drop dead date for all of us on this. And we do have another one with Charter, and that's not the Charter cable piece, but it's the Charter internet piece.
Yep.
And we have had Jack and Keith working on that. There has been some correspondence that we have been involved in, but most of it, I think, has to be brought before the board, and with a recommendation of whether we're going to be working with Verizon and Charter moving forward or whatever. So we've got to allow some time to address that, and the sooner rather than later on that issue. So those are the items that I would see on Monday. Are you comfortable with that? We'll start at 6, Frank?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Just don't start
So it's
earlier than
6.
6. You won't have any.
We'll start at 6, but you won't be here till 6:30, right?
If I can be there at 7:30, I have a 4:30 meeting.
Elevator meeting. There you go.
All right.
Okay. All right, and we're a minute before 6:30. Any comments before we go into executive session?
Well, I'll just say congratulations to our 2 re-elected incumbent board members, Steve and Tony. Nice job.
Saves us on name tags. There you go, save the budget. All right.
Mr. Chairman, you do have one request from Officer Caesar.
Oh, yes, in our packets this evening, one of the newly elected constables had a request for, where is it? I think it's for a conflict of interest in terms of pay as a constable. Diane, I can't find, I know you've given it to me, but I don't seem to find it in this paperwork.
Was it with tonight's?
We should have it, I know it is, I think you gave it to us tonight, was that? Okay, that's why I didn't see it. And he has consulted with State Ethics Commission, and what he's asking is for a municipal employee status for a constable. It's on the next to the last page in our handout.
Yep. I'll move it. People voted for him, so they want him there.
Yep. And it's a minor, we're not talking a lot of money here, but it's just, so there's no perception of conflict. A motion and second on the floor,
Yep.
any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous, okay. I would entertain a motion, to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, to hear complaints and charges made against an employee on the town of Westport, and to approve executive minutes for March 24th, 2014. We'll be coming out to adjourn after that. This is basically fact-finding. Any decisions will be made at a later meeting.
No, it won't be to adjourn, though. It'll be to carry over to the
Carry
school.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you said that, Steve. This is scheduled for about an hour. The schools have requested our presence in executive session at the schools at 8 p.m., or at 7:30. Told them we'd probably be close at 8 by the time we could physically get there. So we do have some time-sensitive piece later this evening as well. Any questions on that? No. Okay, I'd entertain a motion for executive session.
Well, just hold that bracket just for a second. You went so fast before we went around the table. And Mike's, congratulate that guy. I'd like to congratulate everybody who won, but also those who put their hat in the ring, whether they were write-ins, whether they were unsuccessful. I mean, it takes a lot to go out there and for a race, and I think we have to commend those people for the time they put into the town. That's all.
So moved on the executive, Stephen Willett.
Second, Richard Stroller.
The gauge you talking about.
Roll call vote.
Aye, Richard Stroller.
Aye, Stephen Willett.
I'm Mike Sullivan.
Aye, Anton Miera.
Say they support this.
Okay.
Put in 15 minutes today?
He gets a